did Melissa's hair? I don't know if I should wear my mask.
I can step aside.
Oh God, it just looks, I look funny. All right, let's see. Good.
Oh, Paul came in too? That's great.
Okay. All right, thanks very much for joining us on our media briefing on this very smoky Friday. I'm not sure if you're seeing a pop-up on the screen here, but I've got one here, and after we get going, I'll try to figure out how to make it go away. We're going to start our media briefing today with our colleagues from CAL FIRE, who are going to give us an update on the fire and also talk about firefighting at the time of COVID as well. I think we've got Emily on the line. Emily Smith?
Yes, good morning. This is Emily with CAL FIRE IMT1. How are you today?
I'm good. Thanks for joining us.
Absolutely. So I'll start with a update on the river incident. The river incident is currently 39,464 acres and it's 9% contained. There are 3,005 homes that are threatened, 10 structures that are destroyed, 2 damaged, and we have 696 personnel at that incident. For the Carmel incident, current acreage is 4,732 acres with 0% containment, 462 homes that are threatened, 28 destroyed, 2 damaged, and 782 personnel assigned. We do have other fires across California, kind of a statewide situation of what we're working with. Over the past week in California, it experienced historical lightning siege that resulted in approximately 12,000 lightning strikes, causing 560 new fires, totaling for 771,000 acres. There are currently 12,000 fire personnel from the state, local, and federal agencies that are remaining assigned to these incidents. From those fire starts, there's 12 of the 560 new fires are major fires within the state jurisdiction, as 6 are major fires within the federal jurisdiction and 2 are in unified jurisdictions. The weather that we have coming in, there's a significant weather change that is expected this weekend with the low pressure system moving up the coast of California, and that will bring a shift in winds from northwest to southwest. Winds subside late in the evening with inversion conditions setting up. We have experienced the marine layer fog that has moved into the marina airport, and we did see that here locally today. With that, patterns also bringing a dry lightning event that's anticipated to occur on Sunday. As far as COVID precautions, it is a new time for us running incidents with COVID. This incident base is doing thermal imaging at a trailer that all personnel are expected to walk through daily to have their temperature checked, as well as various entry points on the incident. There are temperature checks as well. Face masks are required within the incident base, as well as the team is working closely with Monterey County Public Health and has identified the process, and they are following the county recommendations. And that's kind of the update I have. I'm open to questions now or later, however you would like to do this.
Great. Thank you very much, Emily. If you would be able to stay on the call with us, we'll go through our other presenters and then take questions from everyone after our presentations have completed. I'd like to turn now to our public health lab. There may be a fire going on, but there is also still a pandemic. And we are very pleased to have folks from our public health lab, which has been just really on the front lines of the pandemic, talk about the work there, including some of the grad students who are really jumping in feet first into this emergency. And we're going to start with Donna Ferguson, who is the director of our public health lab. Hi, Donna.
Hi there. Can you hear me?
I can.
Okay, great. Yeah, thanks for this opportunity for us to talk about the lab. Today, we really want to highlight our grad students who came to our rescue back in March, I believe, when we first started testing. We were testing about 20 specimens per day. And when we brought our grad students on, that quickly ramped up to about 100 specimens a day. I was very pleased because we only have 3 people in the lab that can do the testing for the entire community. And I was concerned that if staff should fall ill to COVID, that would create testing delays. So, thanks to the grad students, we were able to keep testing. We became faster and more proficient. Within weeks, we got our test numbers up to about 150 per day. We added around 6 more student volunteers. We acquired new test instruments, hired extra staff, and now we're up to testing about 400 per day, with reporting results out same day, and about 600 a day within a 24-hour period, which is significant when you compare that to the average turnaround time of the commercial labs, which is 48 hours or 3 or more days. So at this time, I'd like to focus on the response from the grad students as to what their experience and contributions were like working in our laboratory. We have, I believe, 4 students with us this morning. We have Brendan Cornwell, Jose Andrade, Paul Bump, and Melissa Noggle. So why don't we start with Brendan? Do you want to talk about your experience and what the opportunity has been for you working in our laboratory? You'll need to
Brendan, you're muted.
unmute yourself, Brendan.
I'm still getting used to Zoom. I'm sorry.
So are we all.
Yeah. Yeah, so my training is basically in molecular methods, which I use in marine systems. So when this all happened and I realized that what the techniques that the lab is using to process these samples are similar to the ones that I use in my research, it just seemed like a worthwhile opportunity to try to help out and provide some support to the staff that were at the lab. And so luckily, Donna was open to that, and it's been really fulfilling for me to be able to contribute something that is in my skill set to, the community in a way that I wouldn't have imagined even in January. So yeah, I've just been doing my research in the week and then Monterey County Public Health on the weekends.
Thanks, Paul. And I think it's wonderful that we have research students who use the same type of PCR methods that we use in our laboratory. It's not the same testing that's performed in hospital labs. What we use is similar to what's used at CDC, and it is research-based. And what that means is whenever there's a new emerging pathogen, we can quickly develop a lab-developed test to identify the causative agents. And once these methods have been proven in the field and validated, the commercial companies then go on to produce the instruments and test kits that are used at commercial labs. All right, Jose, do you want to chime in about your experience?
Yeah, I can be quick just to let my other colleagues talk. I'm a fifth-year graduate student at Stanford over at Hopkins Marine Station. Most of my research entails studying nervous system evolution, so I'm very interested in understanding how it is that humans develop the brain in their heads and not some other part of the body. I study a worm to do this. And to my surprise, a lot of the stuff that I've been doing in the lab, just like Brandon said, is very useful at the clinical setting. So I've been interested in biomedical research for the longest time, but mostly been driven, well, a lot of my research questions based on the evolution of novel things. So it has really led me to study non-classical systems like weird marine worms from the ocean. But working with patient samples was super interesting, and I really appreciate Donna giving me the opportunity to do that. Just getting some inside scoop as to how it is that you go from swab to results in a day seems super fast and just super fascinating to me. So I really appreciate just getting some of the insights there. But yeah, it's like Brandon said, I just being home and stuck there for a while kind of made me feel useless, and I knew that I could help even just doing some data entry. So I reached out to Donna, and it was good. I really enjoyed my time there.
Thank you, Jose.
Yeah.
And next I'd like to introduce Paul Bump. And it was actually Paul who heard me interview on the radio about the need for testing personnel. And it was Paul who reached out to his Stanford colleagues and had them reach out to me about volunteering in the lab. So Paul, if you'd like to go ahead.
Yeah, so it's great to get to talk with you all. I mean, I think this is both a story of local journalism powered with students in the area who want to help, and then a public health department that was flexible and responding as best they could. So yeah, I heard a news story about sort of worries about testing capacity, and knew that myself, along with a number of other colleagues in the area, we had the skill set in order to perform some of these tests. Now, normally we work on very different things, but it turns out DNA and RNA are similar across all different types of animals, so we could sort of run those similar tests. Yeah, it was really great getting to work at the public health lab. I think it's an incredibly dedicated group of people. I think that's one of the things like that I will remember the most, is just how hard they work and how underappreciated probably they usually are. And so definitely as a voting member of society, it makes me feel like we need to continue to invest in the public health system more. But yeah, just a really great opportunity to get to work with them and assist in a small way, but just, yeah, as maybe Jose was saying, feel like at least we could do something in the midst of feeling pretty helpless about the situation.
Thanks, Paul. The other student that we have is Melissa. Melissa, are you there?
Yeah, hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, great. Yeah, I actually heard about this opportunity through Paul as well. I think that his email got circulated through CSUMB, and me, as well as some of the other interns, heard about this opportunity this way. And yeah, it's been really great. I, like the other students, have mostly been working on marine systems and mostly working in like ecology labs. So it's been a really great experience to get some experience in a totally different type of lab, and also just see all of the work that goes into processing these COVID tests. When the pandemic started, it was a really scary time. And I think for me personally, it was nice to just have some purpose and, feel like I was using my time in a way that was helpful. So I really appreciate the opportunity. And yeah, I'll be continuing to work part-time with the public health lab through the next semester.
Thank you, Melissa.
Yeah.
Okay, Maya, I think that's it for the lab, unless, do we want to take questions now or later?
No, I'd like to take questions later. Thank you all very much for sharing your experiences, and please stay on the call in case we have some questions for you. We've got a couple of other things to talk about. We've got Karen Smith on the line, our PIO from the health department, who's going to share a little information about wildfire smoke and concerns that people have, and what they should know about protecting themselves from the smoke.
Well, good afternoon. I hope you're all breathing clean air. One of the biggest things I want people to do is to keep up to date on what's happening out there. So making sure you've signed up for Alert Monterey, and that's at www.alertmontereycounty.org. It's very important, especially if you're near the fire areas. And as always, 24 hours a day, you can find information at co.monterey.ca.us/2020 fires. And with the CAL FIRE two of our fires are CAL FIRES, so fire.ca.gov. So keeping informed is very important. And part of that is learning about the air quality. And you can look out and you can say, yeah, it's not pretty, it's ugly, and I can taste the fire. But what does that mean? The best place to find the information about what the air quality in your area is the Monterey Bay Air Resources Board. And they are at mbard.org, mbard.org. And they have a map, a very nice map that shows you what the air quality is in your area. And I encourage people to keep an eye on that, especially if you have people who are at risk with your family. So consider, you check on your AC, make sure you've got a good clean filter. That'll help. Keeping the doors and windows closed and keeping the smoke out. You want to create a clean room, so someplace where the air is cleaner inside than outside. You don't want to pull in the outside air, so you want to make sure you're recirculating the air to prevent the smoke coming in. And be prepared. It's always good to be prepared. So create a personal or family or loved one, group emergency plan and gather your supplies and think about, even if you're not in the area that's near the fire, what would you do? And who would you call and where would you meet? Those are important things to know. That way, when you're ready to evacuate, everyone knows we need to call Aunt Helen in Nevada, because you want to be able to call somebody outside the area so that everyone can call. And phone lines tend to be down locally, but sometimes you can get away from the area. So that's important. And then knowing what to take and understanding what medications you may need. If you have during a fire event, we're mostly worried about people with heart and lung issues. So if you're an asthmatic, follow your asthma plan. If you have other lung or heart issues, you might want to talk to your healthcare provider to get more information about what you should do. If you need to, it may come to the point where you want to leave the area temporarily to get away from the smoke. And then I'm sure that there are questions about smoke exposure in the time of COVID. So since COVID does attack your lungs, people who have or are recovering from COVID may be at an increased risk for health effects from the wildfire smoke. And so you want to keep an eye on them. And then you might be concerned about confusing the symptoms, because since they're both lungs, and some things like a dry cough, a sore throat, difficulty breathing can be caused by both. So, look for symptoms of COVID would include fever, chills, muscle and body aches, that sort of thing, whereas you wouldn't get that with the wildfire smoke exposure. And as always, if you have severe symptoms like difficulty breathing or heavy chest pain, immediately call 911 and get to the hospital. And we can talk about face coverings. They will protect you from COVID, not from the smoke. But COVID is still circulating, so you still need to wear your face coverings. And that's it from me.
Thank you very much, Karen. Good advice, as always. And now we've got Dr. Moreno on the call, our health officer. He's got an update for us on the data updating and tables. Good afternoon, Dr. Moreno.
Hey, good afternoon, Mia. Hi, everyone. And I also want to recognize Donna Ferguson for everything that she's been able to accomplish. Ronnie and the other folks that are our full-time microbiologists who've been with us from the beginning, doing a fantastic job. And then our students that are here today, sharing their experiences with the media and our Monterey County residents. I want to thank you very much for allowing us to ramp up not just the quantity of lab testing for Monterey County residents, but the quality. You guys showed up with a lot of excellent skills that were put to work immediately. So I want to thank all you guys. Let's see, so Maya, I just want to remind people that yes, we're still in COVID pandemic, and it's still very important for people if you're going to be around people that you don't live with to use face coverings, wash your hands, keep 6 feet distance from people that you don't live with. That's still very, very important right now. An update on case investigation. 2 of the cases that were reported to us were reported as fatalities. So that's updated on the website. And these are adults that have underlying medical conditions that would make them more susceptible to severe illness or dying from COVID-19. Our data tables will be updated hopefully today or this weekend to add obesity and chronic liver disease, excuse me, under the underlying medical conditions. I think that's going to be important because there are some, what I'm hearing from colleagues is that overweight and obesity may also be a contributing factor to more serious illness and fatality. So we'll be adding that to our demographic tables. We're also going to, there'll be an appearance difference. We're going to be moving our death and hospital data from a standalone table. It'll be incorporated into the website so that it now will look like the other data, look more like the other data tables. So it would be an appearance difference, but the data should still be the same. Update on the backlog. So we continue to work with California Department of Public Health to identify potentially more lab test results that were run by laboratories and but not available to us through CalReady. So just the last couple of days, we pushed the more test results, I believe from the week of July 20th from LabCorp, some from LabCorp and from our own public health lab. And we were able to find an additional 120 positive test results from the week of July 20th that previously weren't available to us through CalReady. So the laboratories like LabCorp and our public health laboratory did what they were supposed to do. They pushed it through. Unfortunately, we couldn't see it on the CalReady side. And so, so those are, so there are some additional positive tests, but as we move forward through this pandemic, most of these lab test results that weren't reported or available to us through CalReady are older and older lab test results. And so these are a month out. And so we're still going to prioritize the most recent laboratory tests that come into us as positives, because those give us the most opportunity to intervene and isolate and prevent further spread of COVID-19. So we've done what we can to get as many of those lab tests reported to us as possible. So that's the most recent update on the backlog, and I'll end there and hand it back to you, Ma'am.
Thank you very much, Dr. Moreno. That's all of our presenters right now. So we're going to go ahead and start with questions. And I've just got 2 questions in chat right now, and they're both for CAL FIRE. So Emily, I'm hoping you're still on the call. Could you repeat the fire numbers that you provided? And perhaps if you could if you're able to put them in chat or send them in writing.
Hello, yes, we are still on the line. I'm unable to put them in chat at the moment, but I can definitely forward an email or gather people's emails that we can send out our incident update that goes out at 7 in the morning and 7 in the evening. But for the numbers, I'll go ahead and go over them one more time. So for the river incident, the current acreage is 39,464 with 9% containment. There are 3,005 structures that are threatened, 10 destroyed, 2 damaged, and 696 personnel assigned to that incident. The Carmel incident acreage is currently 4,732 at 0% containment, 462 homes threatened, 28 destroyed, 2 damaged, and 782 personnel assigned.
All right, thank you. And then I have another question for you. How close are the river and Carmel fires from each other, and are they expected to merge?
The fires are currently 2 miles apart from each other. We do have operations and our team looking at the potential of where that where the fire is going. Both fires are going, and we are planning for anticipating the possibility that they may connect.
All right, thank you. Are there any other questions for any of our presenters? If not in chat, does anyone have a question that they want to ask? And I am not hearing, I'm not hearing anyone, although I am hearing a lot of background noise. Then before we go, I just have two pieces of information I'm going to pass along, and an information release will be following the media briefing. The county has opened an evacuation shelter at Sherwood Hall, that is in Salinas. There is also an evacuation center opened at the King City Library, which is at 402 Broadway in King City. I'll have an information release on that following the briefing. And as there are no other questions, that will wrap up our briefing for today. Thank you everyone for joining us, our presenters and our media colleagues, and we'll see you next time.